Rosemary, The Hidden Kennedy Daughter, by Kate Clifford Larson, is a compelling biography that chronicles the life of Rosemary Kennedy, the third child of Joseph and Rose Kennedy. The book is a heartbreaking account of Rosemary's life, which was marred by mental illness and the callous actions of her family members. The book also sheds light on the dark history of mental health treatment in the United States and the stigma associated with mental illness during the early 20th century. Rosemary Kennedy was born on September 13, 1918, into a family that was already famous and wealthy. Her father, Joseph Kennedy, was a successful businessman and politician who would go on to serve as the United States ambassador to the United Kingdom during World War II. Her mother, Rose Kennedy, was a devout Catholic who was deeply committed to her family and her faith. Rosemary was the third child of the couple, and she was followed by 4 brothers and 3 sisters. If you'd like to listen to this book on Audible for free, you can click the link in the description below. If you'd rather read this book, I've added a link to Amazon. Please feel free to leave a comment suggesting another book you'd like me to summarize. Now back to the summary. From an early age, Rosemary was a bright and curious child. However, she struggled with her studies and was often behind her siblings in terms of academic performance. She was also prone to tantrums and other disruptive behavior, which made her difficult to handle at times. Despite these challenges, Rosemary was loved by her family, and they tried their best to provide her with the care and attention she needed. However, as Rosemary entered her teenage years, her behavior became increasingly erratic. She struggled with anxiety, depression, and mood swings, which made it difficult for her to socialize and make friends. Her parents tried various treatments to help her, including psychotherapy and medication, but nothing seemed to work. As a result, they became increasingly desperate, and they turned to more extreme measures to try and cure their daughter. In 1941, when Rosemary was 23 years old, her father arranged for her to undergo a prefrontal lobotomy, a controversial and experimental procedure that involved severing connections in the prefrontal cortex of the brain. The procedure was supposed to help patients with mental illness, but it often had severe and irreversible side effects, including memory loss, reduced cognitive function, and changes in personality. The lobotomy that Rosemary received was a disaster. The surgeon who performed the procedure did not have enough experience, and he ended up damaging Rosemary's brain irreparably. As a result, Rosemary was left with severe cognitive impairment, and she was unable to communicate or care for herself. Her family was devastated by the outcome of the procedure, and they decided to keep Rosemary hidden from the public eye. For the next few decades, Rosemary was kept in a series of institutions and homes where she received various forms of care and treatment. However, her condition continued to deteriorate, and she was often neglected and abused by the staff at these facilities. Her family members rarely visited her, and they seemed to have forgotten about her entirely. It was not until the 1960s that the truth about Rosemary's condition came to light. During this time, the Kennedy family was at the height of its political power, and journalists and biographers began to take an interest in their lives. It was then that the story of Rosemary's lobotomy was first revealed, and the public was shocked by the barbaric treatment that she had received. Despite the public outcry, Rosemary's condition did not improve, and she continued to live in relative obscurity until her death in 2005. However, her legacy lived on, and her story became a symbol of the struggles that people with mental illness face in society. Her family also began to speak out about the importance of mental health treatment and the need to break down the stigma associated with mental illness. Please click the subscribe button and head down to the description below to listen to this book for free on Audible. See you in the next summary.